Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this video. You are now watching the Grumpy Easterner, for some reason. Today I just wanted to say a few words about smartphones. I don't want to sound like a crazy person stuck somewhere in the Middle Ages, but I wanted to speak about technology. Yesterday I saw a YouTube video from a guy called Company Man. He was speaking about Nokia and about how 10, 12 years ago everybody had Nokia phones or just normal phones, but now you wouldn't find a person with an old phone. They would only have smartphones. He was right in many things, but I don't think he was perfectly correct in this assumption. There is a trend called downgrading. Basically, you give up a modern technology and you take a step back or step down. And in phones, that's basically getting rid of your smartphone and going for old, how is it called, dumb phone instead. Just before I start, I wanted to somehow put you in a mood. Imagine time 10, 12, 15 years ago, how people behaved, what they did. When you went somewhere, you took your necessary items. If you wanted to read, you would take a book. If you had a child with yourself, you would take a toy for the child. You would take your basic items, your medicine, your tool. Just basic stuff. If you wanted to take pictures, your phone was capable of taking something. I wouldn't call it photos, but you would take your camera or your camera. Now, people don't carry this anymore. They might carry the medicine, but they don't carry many of these items. They don't take a toy for their child. They give him a smartphone. They don't read an old book. They charge their smartphone on, or some people have these e-reader thingies. That's all good, but you still need electricity. It is basically a leash to the civilization. Some people say, oh, there's my photo gallery. I have photos of my beloved ones on my smartphone. Yeah, I don't need a smartphone. I do not want to return back to the time of landlines and wars. Everything I say is, I never owned a smartphone. I have a new computer and I never felt the need to get a tablet or to get a smartphone. I worked with people who earned minimum wage and they put 10 or even 15% of their income into getting a new phone every year. They wanted a new iPhone. They wanted Samsung or whatever. They were speaking about it all the time. And they showed me, yeah, I bought a new phone and in 3 days it had a cracked screen. And they didn't even pay for their phone and it was broken already. And they had to pay huge amounts of money to have it repaired. And they bought these special cases which didn't work. It's half of the phone is basically screen. Whatever you do with it, you will scratch it, you will damage it, you will break it. But it's a helpful tool. It has maps and it has Google and Yelp reviews and your Facebook. I do not want to sound like a hypocrite. I do have Instagram, which I operate from my computer. But honestly, I consider social networks good for something and bad for others. Uh, it's a good servant. It's a bad master. So, yes, I know it has Facebook, but you don't really need Facebook 24/7. It's okay to have it at home on the computer. People did it this way. Back to phones. Do you really need maps? I am just an average person, not particularly skilled in many fields, but I am capable of navigating using a map. I drove from Central Europe to Scotland using 1980s map of Germany. The rest of the way I either figured it out or I stopped and asked someone. And it wasn't really necessary. If you know where you're going, you will get there. Or now when I'm driving somewhere, in some place I don't know, I just take a look in maps, either paper maps or online, and I see, okay, I'm going there. And I remember it. People did it this way for the entire human history. They either had a map or before they just asked. Yelp reviews, completely useless. Sorry, but if you want to know if the restaurant is good, take a look there. Is there a decent amount of people? Does it smell good? Okay, go there. Does it smell bad? Does it have good reviews? Yeah, then probably the owner wrote it himself. It is not so useful. Social networks, mostly it's just a waste of time. It's good to stay connected with your beloved ones, and it's a cheap way to stay connected. But really, really not 24/7. Just free your mind for a moment. Toys for kids. I was taking care of a little boy. I was told, oh, he's glued to his smartphone. Not his smartphone, but his mother's smartphone. I took care of him for several days. He had absolutely no need to touch a smartphone. Because I considered it my responsibility to keep him entertained. When he was asking the standard, and why, and why, and why, I was answering. For 2 hours straight. But it kept him entertained. I have two phones. One of them is my normal phone that I use daily. It has our national SIM card, and the other one is with SIM card from another country. I have this phone for I think 18 or 17 years now. Yeah, the battery is not the best. It lasts only like 1 or 2 days. So it's comparable with new smartphone. On this one, the battery lasts week and a half. Of course, if I do a lot of phone calls, it lasts just a week. If you drop your smartphone on a carpet, you will probably damage your smartphone. If I drop this phone from a window in our apartment building, I will either kill someone or I will damage a parking lot. Yeah, the battery will fly away and I will just put it back in and it will continue working. There is, I don't know if it's if you can see this. There is a little scratch here. I felt on it. It was painful for 3 days, and there's just a tiny scratch, and it still works. And yes, the original battery that was in there when it was new is still working. It still holds it charged for day and a half. These phones were indestructible. They had some games, Snake, but it wasn't like everybody was just staring in the phone. No, they were of course staring in a book. Just an idea. If you know somebody who still stares into a smartphone, does it bother you? Seriously, believe me or not, but that wasn't staged. Just started ringing. Anyway, for your free time, do you feel like you have less free time than 10 years ago? How much time do you spend on smartphone? Not doing something like calling someone or writing somebody a message or looking for an information you really need. Although most people say, "Oh, but it's so great to have internet there. You have access to the uh, entire knowledge of mankind." Yeah, but you rarely see somebody looking up when Catherine the Great ruled Russia. And you don't really need this information anyway. People usually use it for spell check. How much time does it consume? I had seen many people so happy downgrading, getting rid of the time-consuming machine. And yes, I spend a lot of time online on my computer, but I also like to go into the nature on a hiking trip. Some people like to do other things in nature. Cleverly hidden clues behind me. Some people like riding a bicycle, some people like going to pubs to actually talk to someone. Some people like to go dancing or fishing. Although I suppose today fishermen just sit there and play with a smartphone anyway. I don't want to rely on technology so much. And if I do have to rely on technology, I want something that I'm actually used to. And not all technology from past decades must be replaced immediately. For the entire time you have been watching this video, you have been staring at me through a 1950s Russian lens. I use the lens just to make this point, but they are good for video anyway. So it's just a thought, but isn't it better to have more free time rather than a horribly expensive machine that sometimes is useful, most of the time is just something that bothers you and people around you? Okay, this is what I wanted to say. Thank you for listening to me. See you.